Hey folks, many others have prepared before you. Don't be left behind in getting prepared for the RV. We have now made the 8 steps available at the official website, Goldilocks Global Banking News.com. The link is at the top of the description. All you have to do is click it for instant access.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance to get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.
Hey, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter and welcome to Goldilocks Global Banking News. I am your host. Folks, you should be aware by now that the oil market around the world, especially because of the war, is shifting and changing. What is the most profitable source of money for Iraq? Oil. Oil is the #1 revenue stream for Iraq. 95% of Iraq's economy. So this is 95%, folks, of all the revenue that goes into the Iraqi dinar comes from oil. Goldilocks is sharing today a complete shift in the global oil markets. Iraq will definitely be affected. Let's jump right into what Goldilocks is sharing today, folks. And this is from the Middle East. You have several countries in the Middle East that are global oil giants. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. There's others. But there has been a complete shift right now. The United Arab Emirates announced on April the 28th they will leave OPEC. This exit takes effect on May the 1st. The UAE wants more freedom to produce and sell more oil to serve its own economic needs. OPEC, the acronym stands for the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. This is where all of the major oil companies, especially Iraq, this is where they are part of this organization that governs oil distribution around the world. The United States is a part of it as well. All of the oil that is governed by this global agency is in majority in US dollar. That's why it's called the petrodollar. That's why this is called the Organization for Petro. The Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries. See, the UAE is now leaving the OPEC countries. They said the decision comes after a review of its energy plans. It plans to raise oil output towards 5 million barrels a day and feels limited by continuously being a part of the OPEC countries. Qatar is a part of it, Angola, Ecuador, and others. Now these countries will begin to shift. The effects on oil prices, ladies and gentlemen, will absolutely seep into currencies. With the UAE gone, a major oil producer could increase supply over time. The effects on currencies is this. A weaker OPEC may reduce the role of the US dollar in global oil trades. And the weakening of the US dollar, ladies and gentlemen, is how currencies from around the world get stronger. Countries like the UAE could see more stable or stronger local currencies. While other countries have not officially announced their departure, the UAE's move, it highlights intense friction regarding production of oil and the petrodollar system, which is the system for countries around the world that buy and sell oil in the US dollar. Iraq wants to shift away from using the US dollar in this regard as well. But there's been no official announcement that they are proceeding. It's already known this is what they want to do, so that they, Iraq, and their $3 million per day, 3 million barrels per day, they want that to be in the Iraqi dinar. Overall, the UAE's exit from OPEC sends a signal throughout the world the US dollar will continue to get weaker. Structural shifts in global oil production, ladies and gentlemen, it will absolutely weaken the US dollar. For those of you that don't understand, this is what we want. We want a weaker dollar because that is a signal for other currencies to get stronger. As of early 2026, global oversupply is exerting downward pressure on prices. The key drivers for local currencies demand includes reduced exposure to the US dollar, shifting oil demand, diversification of foreign currency reserves by countries around the world so that they can build resilience against sanctions. The US dollar, although remains dominant in many oil markets, but it increasingly is sharing space with other currencies. And then we see Goldilocks is sharing from the BRICS. The BRICS, now they are shifting. Remember, the UAE is a part of the BRICS nations. Now the UAE, they are now settling transactions and trade in the local currencies of countries that they do trade with. They have largely shoveled the plans for a single common BRICS currency in favor of a practical system and steps to preserve each country's national sovereignty. So that means each of the countries that are a part of the BRICS, the countries that do trade with them, will begin to shift towards their own currencies as well in global trade. Local currency trade settlement is an initiative that the BRICS have implemented, again, which the UAE is a part of. This is the most advanced area where they settle 99% of trade in the US dollar, but is now shifting to their own currencies. The current status and limitations, the progress centers on payment systems. And the BRICS nations, their initiative is to contribute to a more global financial system and landscape whereby countries use their own currencies. Yes, for Iraq to use the dinar, for Indonesia to use the rupee, for Mexico to use the peso, for Vietnam to use the dong, Venezuela, the bolivar, and don't forget, one of the world's largest oil distributors is Venezuela. So when you have countries that are major oil producers like the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, it is a huge signal of what is to come. When you have a huge country and oil distributor like that, that makes a shift away from the status quo, the domino effects are inevitable to follow, whereby other countries will be expected to do the same thing. So as these other countries begin to shift away from the literally the OPEC cartel, which is the oil cartel, and these countries like the UAE remove themselves from the oil cartel, and there's no military ramifications, this is a clear signal of a shift in the global financial markets. It's no coincidence that the UAE has now backed out. No coincidence that other countries are considering doing the same thing. No coincidence that the US dollar will continue to get weaker. And no coincidence that global currencies, as a result of it, will begin to get stronger and stronger. And as that occurs, there's no coincidence we'll be at the banks exchanging currencies as they revalue. Stay tuned, stay well. We love you folks. Ciao. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you have instant access to the 8 steps that hundreds of thousands of people from around the world have used to prepare for the RV at the banks. All you have to do is click the link at the website at the top of the description. Goldilocks Global Banking News.com. You will have instant access.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.